Wrestling in 2024 was pretty sick. A lot of firsts happened last year. New championships were created, shows were destroyed, but the one thing that intrigued me was the TNA and WWE starting their partnership. Last month, WWE and TNA officially announced a partnership between NXT and TNA, and for anyone who has watched any of the shows at the time, I thought this was kinda neat. And now with 2025 already listing off new NXT versus TNA matches on both shows, I think I should cover the first year of this unofficial partnership / war. This video is going to be covered in 2 volumes. I will cover everything leading up to NXT No Mercy 2024, which I think is a good place to end this part. Now with that being said, let's see who was the better company last year. So our first conversation actually doesn't start in NXT, but I think I should mention it as it's sort of a foreshadowing to the brand rivalry. Naomi would make her WWE return in the 2024 Women's Royal Rumble, and before that, she would be fighting as Trinity in TNA. Coming in at number 5, we would see the exact woman who defeated Naomi to hold the TNA Knockouts World Championship, the juggernaut Jordynne Grace. Jordynne would clear house in her shine in the Rumble, and she wouldn't score any eliminations in this match sadly, but she did have a memorable elimination, as Bianca would then give her the KOD on the ring apron to get TNA away from the company for about 4 months. Flash to May 28th, 2024 episode of NXT, and Roxanne Perez, the NXT Women's Champion, would be given a promo about how much she has shown respect for her championship, saying that she is the only one who has shown commitment for the title, and that she doesn't care for Raw or SmackDown. Roxanne demands to see her opponent for the upcoming live event, NXT Battleground, and she says that she needs to be treated better as the NXT general manager Ava's music hits. Ava then reveals Roxanne's opponent as Jordynne Grace's sirens ring out, and then Vic Joseph and Booker T start creaming in their drawers on commentary. Jordynne officially introduces herself as the TNA Knockouts champion.
Quack, quack.
Jordynne argues about who built the strongest foundation for women's wrestling, and then Grace tells Perez that she's going to walk out of Vegas as a double champion.
Time to play the game.
We actually have a pit stop before we see this title match, as Jordynne Grace will come out to the next week on NXT to challenge Stevie Turner. This is officially where the scoreboard's going to start. Roxanne Perez also interrupts Stevie Turner's entrance and hops on commentary for this match. Jordynne Grace takes Stevie Turner over, but then Stevie bitch slaps Grace. Grace is pissed off and then attempts a fireman's carry, but then Grace gives a few up and overs and then gives Stevie a receipt. Grace then delivers a reverse power slam and then kips up to the crowd. Stevie Turner with the 1 count after a sit-out neckbreaker. Jordynne Grace lifts Turner into the electric chair, where she then maneuvers her shortly after with a suplex. Grace with some body slam city, but then Stevie retreats into the corner and then eats an uppercut. Grace with the world's strongest slam, followed up by a Vader bomb, and then Grace puts Turner away with the Juggernaut driver. Roxanne Perez then gets in Grace's face after the match, and then Grace gives her a pushback and damn near sends her into the cheap seat.
The next day, the motherfucker was dead.
We now get to the first aforementioned match as we go to NXT Battleground, and good lord, Jordynne Grace is an absolute behemoth compared to Roxanne, yet they're the exact same height somehow. Replay the push spot from last week to start us off, and then Jordynne easily overpowers Roxanne with the chain wrestling. Perez is able to maneuver all around Grace to counter the strength, and then Roxanne smacks the shit out of Jordynne. Grace is pissed and then drops Perez with the reverse power slam kip-up maneuver. Grace attempts a powerbomb, but Roxanne was able to get the thumbs in the eye on Grace. Roxanne stops the Vader bomb, and then the arm drags her from the middle rope and then starts targeting the arm. Oh great, black and white filter because Grace has cut open her ear. I think from this arm drag spot now noticed as Roxanne pulls on the arm. Roxanne works over the arm for most of this match, and then Grace gets a chop block followed by a small drop kick. Roxanne starts working like almost a half octopus hold, and then Grace lifts Perez off her feet. Roxanne then rolls out of it. Roxanne scales the second rope, but then gets caught with a huge front slam, and then nobody's home for the Vader bomb. Roxanne climbs to the top, and then Grace goes to follow, but then she starts wailing on the back of Perez's head. Grace then lifts Roxanne into the torture rack, and then gives her a spin-out powerbomb from the second rope. That was fucking sweet. Slap from Grace, followed by a chop, and then Roxanne attempts her offensive flurry, but then this gets her body slammed. Roxanne lets out a war cry, and then starts unleashing shots, but this just gives her an uppercut, followed by a lariat. Grace looks for the vertebreaker, but she's not that lucky as she gets hit with a spinebuster for a 2 count. Perez eats an uppercut on the top, and then as Grace goes for the Shades of Samoa, Roxanne gives her a DDT, followed up by the Spike Rano, but it's only a 2. Roxanne locks in an armbar, but as Grace attempts to powerbomb her on the outside, Roxanne holds on tight. Grace then soon recovers and then hits the Muscle Buster on Perez, but surprisingly Perez kicks out at 2. Grace and Perez fight on the apron as they chant "We Believe," but sadly he's not here yet. Grace saves herself from the apron sunset flip, but then Grace hits her face, and then Roxanne dives onto the Juggernaut, She then throws her in and then hits a double jump moonsault for a 2 count, 1 for each jump. Roxanne locks in the crossface, but then this does nothing, and then Grace nails a back elbow. Perez attempts the pop rocks, but after some miscalculation, Grace plants her with the gory bomb. Wednesday Addams appears at ringside and then starts looking at the TNA Knockouts Championship and then starts running away with it. And as she runs away, we see Dana Brooke, Ash by Elegance from TNA, to try to take the belt from Tatum Paxley, and then Grace then clears the competition out with her own belt. Back in the ring, Grace with the cartwheel driver, Roxanne actually counters the Juggernaut driver into a DDT, and then secures pop rocks on Grace to retain the NXT Women's Championship. Best match so far. I don't know why I remember this match to be so mid, but it's definitely better than I remembered it to be. We go to TNA Against All Odds, where TNA Knockouts World Champion Jordynne Grace is going to defend her title in an open challenge. The woman answering the open challenge is Tatum Paxley. Ash by Elegance's concierge comes out before the match begins and tells us we're here to watch Ash by Elegance watch the match.
My field unto which I grow my fuck, it is buried.
Jordan and Tatum tie up to start the match, and then Grace shows off her bazookas, her arms, you perverts. Grace with a back elbow, clothesline, and the reverse power slam, where she then starts firing away on the neck. Grace tosses Paxley to the floor, but then Tatum disappears under the ring before Jordan can make the dive. Jordan finds Tatum, and then Paxley takes control and pulls her into the girder of the ring. Tatum attempts a suplex, but instead drives Grace spine first into the ring post. Tatum sets up for the Psycho Trap, but after some slipping and sliding, Tatum gets Grace into the single leg Boston Crab before Jordan fights out of it. Grace gets caught off guard by a Vader Bomb attempt, but Paxley hits a neck breaker. Never mind, Vader Bomb, nobody home. Grace rolls herself over onto Tatum, and then hits the front slam into Grace under pressure, but Paxley is still in it. Grace with the back elbow in the corner, and then a big palm strike, and then a huge uppercut on the top, followed by the muscle buster, but Paxley kicks out at 2. Remember when that move broke Tyson Kidd's neck and nobody used it for a while? Grace and Pax brawl on the top rope, and then Jordan gives a spine chop. Tatum takes a roll with the lobotomy, but the Juggernaut is still kicking. Tatum locks in a guillotine for a while until Grace powers her up and then drops her with the jackhammer for another 2. Tatum attempts the Psycho Trap, but then Tatum then eats a back elbow and the cartwheel driver, followed by the Juggernaut driver for the title retain.
Joe Hendry makes things better.
So we head over to NXT on June 18th, and he's fucking here, folks.
Say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry.
Tells everyone that he is in the Battle Royal tonight, which will be a 25-man Battle Royal to determine the #1 contender to Trick Williams' NXT Championship. Ethan Page and Joe Hendry start jaw-jacking at each other, and then that's when Oro Mensah pops out and starts whooping Page's ass. Everyone starts whooping Joe Hendry's ass, and then he gets immediately eliminated by Frankie Kazarian, who was not even announced for this Battle Royal. But he was like Tatanka when he was in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal in 2016. The only other TNA guy is Kazarian, so I'm mainly looking at his highlights right now that Joe Hendry is gone. Frankie really doesn't do shit until Tony D'Angelo gives him a belly-to-belly. Frankie Kazarian actually reaches the Final Four with Javon Evans, Shawn Spears, and Dragon Lee. Shawn tries to eliminate Frankie, but he holds on, and then he fakes out Shawn with the guillotine leg drop. Javon Evans reverses an Irish whip, and then Frankie goes sailing over the corner post for the elimination. The match is won by the Young OG after super kicking Shawn Spears midair and then hits him with the twisting enziguri and then eliminates him. NXT wins this round since Javon represents NXT. We flash to about a month later on NXT, where Trick Williams competes in a tag team match against the new NXT champion Ethan Page and Shawn Spears. Who was his partner?
Say his name and he appears.
Trick and Ethan start off the match, but shortly after a splash, Joe Hendry gets tagged into a hellacious ovation. Joe lifts up Spears and then drops him face first with a fireman's carry, and then hits Ethan Page with a delayed vertical suplex. Joe clotheslines Page to the outside, which allows Trick to dive onto their opponents. Ethan Page comes back from commercial with a roundhouse kick and then a DDT before tagging Spears. Joe gets his happy ass handed to him for a little bit from Page, but then Page locks Hendry into a guillotine before Hendry is able to lift him up into another big suplex. Trick Williams gets his comeback, but Ethan Page cuts him down with the Uranagi and then a diving shoulder block from the apron. Shawn Spears and Ethan Page take turns whooping that Trick until Ethan tries to pull Spears out of the ring, but in comes Oro Mensah, who starts attacking Page as the ref is distracted. Hendry snags the tag and gives the clotheslines, followed by the DDT on Spears. Hendry then parades around with Shawn Spears and hits a sack of shit. Joe Hendry with his camera shot sends Shawn outside, and then Williams nails the trick shot, and then that leads to Joe Hendry hitting the standing ovation on Shawn Spears for the victory. So I thought about this one since it happens a few times in this war, but I'll just give them both a half point since TNA and NXT wrestlers coexist to get the win, and that's basic wrestling, right?
Correct!
Hell, this is a dinosaur!
We're back in the Impact Zone, and Jordynne Grace is issuing another open challenge for her TNA Knockouts Championship. The woman answering the challenge this time is Izzy Dame, who doesn't get that big of a reaction. We actually have 2 matches tonight on the same show with NXT versus TNA implications, but I'll get to that after this. Jesus, not this fucking concierge again. This time Ash is gonna watch this match from satellite. Okay, what the fuck? Is she gonna be? Oh, okay, there she goes. Jordynne overpowers Izzy in the beginning, but goddamn Izzy Dame is tall.
That's a huge bitch!
Jordynne Grace tries to reach for Dame's hand, but instead she just pulls her hand down with her behemoth strength. Grace knocks Dame down with the suplex, Izzy reverses an Irish whip, Grace with the up and over, and then turns it into a reverse power slam. Izzy gets clotheslined down to the floor, and then as Grace attempts the wrecking ball drop kick, she skins the cat, and then gets immediately pulled out and hits an uppercut. Grace looks for something big, but then looks at the concierge, where then Rosemary pops out of the crowd and then chases the concierge backstage. Dame with the stun gun on Jordynne, and then she sends Grace face first into the turnbuckle. Izzy lifts Grace up off the top rope and hits a Falcon Arrow for the 2 count. Grace pounces from the second rope and starts unleashing on Izzy Dame's head. Grace looks for the Juggernaut driver, but gets caught with a back roundhouse. Jordynne and Izzy start exchanging pimp slaps, but then a big elbow from Grace, and then followed by an Izzy big boot. Izzy goes to recover, but then the Juggernaut drops her with her cartwheel driver, followed by the Juggernaut driver for another successful title defense.
Take out your toothbrush, stick it right up my bottom.
We move to later in the same night, and we see the Rascals making their way to the ring, as Zachary Wentz will be competing in singles action. We see that Wes Lee have reunited with the Rascals on NXT, and we will soon see a 6-man tag match on NXT. Making his way to the ring with none of his tag team partners in the No Quarter Catch crew with him is Baby Regal, Charlie Dempsey. Zachary Wentz with a backflip evasion to start us out, followed by a leg sweep into a side drop kick, and then a kip up for respect. Dempsey smacks Wentz on the top rope and then sends him away with a knuckle toss, and then hits a big uppercut, followed by another. Charlie targets Zach's arm for a majority of this match, as most Baby Regals would. But then Zach gets back into it with an atomic drop, and then Dempsey catches the leg and gives him a nasty dragon screw. Charlie deadlifts Wentz above his head with the German suplex for a 2 count. Wentz then follows up with a handspring knee strike. Wentz catches Dempsey off a rebound and then sends him away with a German. Knee in the corner, roll through, big penalty kick, hit with a running shooting star for the 2 count. Zach attempts the UFO cutter, but on the outside is Dempsey's teammate, Miles Bourne, who attacks Trey Miguel at ringside, allowing Dempsey to hit the dragon suplex and secure the victory. Charlie Dempsey starts stomping in Wentz after the match. I almost called him Pete Wentz, I don't know why. And then Dempsey sends Wentz to Bourne for a big power slam, adding insult to injury. We back in Orlando, and we have some 6-man tag team action coming up, as Wes Lee, Trey Miguel, and Zachary Wentz reunite as the Rascals, and they will be taking on Mark and Joe Coffey and Wolfgang of Gallus. Mark Coffey and Trey Miguel are going to kick us off. Trey Miguel with the evasion rolls Coffey into the ring and then pop kicks his arm and then hits the Hurricane Rana, tagging to Zachary Wentz with a heart attack last chancery dropkick combo. Wolfgang tags in and starts laying waste to Wentz before he tags in Joe Coffey. Crowd calls him an asshole as Wentz hits the second rope Hurricane Rana. Zach then recovers and then tags Wes Lee, who hits the Tope Atomico. The Gallus boys take their shots on Wes Lee for a little bit, until Trey Miguel saves Wes with the Enziguri, Joe Coffey drops Miguel, and then Wentz hits the handspring knee, right before Mark Coffey turns him inside out, and then Wes takes out Mark to complete the sequence. Vic Joseph on commentary mentions a certain name.
Say his name.
Joe Hendry then makes his way down to the commentary for the rest of this match. Booker T is not very happy that Joe Hendry is on commentary. Wes finally gets the tag to Zachary Wentz as he starts a super kick party on Gallus. Gamagiri to Joe Coffey, and then a double diving dropkick. Zach Wentz hits the takedown, followed by the German suplex. Trey gets the tag and then delivers the multiple dropkicks. Trey Miguel with a dope scorpion kick into the lightning spiral for the 2. The Rascals triple team Mark Coffey with an insane triple dropkick, Miguel with the slide suicide DDT, MSK start roughing shit up to follow. Wes Lee then pushes Wentz to hit Hot Fire Flame on the Gallus boys to the floor. Wes then shoots a Tope con Hilo on all 3 opponents. Double cheeky Nandos, and then an assisted trio Burning Hammer on Mark Coffey, and that allows the Rascals to pick up the victory. No, I'm not doing 1/3 of points, so I'm just gonna do a half a point for both companies again.
I can't hear you!
Flash over the TNA, and we got some more trios action as Charlie Dempsey, Miles Bourne, and Tavion Heights of the No Quarter Catch crew from NXT take on Kushida and the Rascals. with no Wesley. Charlie Dempsey and Zachary Wentz kick off our match. Dempsey immediately with a dope headstand bridge evasion into the chain wrestling. Wentz recovers with a backflip arm drag. Dempsey tags in Bourne, and then immediately Wentz slips away to tag Trey, and then hits that last chancery dropkick combo. Kushida and Trey Miguel distract the ref, and then hit an assisted dropkick, but this allows Tavion to press drop Kushida, and then give him a Baszler gut wrench. Dempsey back in the match, and then he hits the spin back suplex backbreaker for a 2 count. Miles Bourne now in the match. Kushida hits a double back elbow on both Bourne and Heights as he rolls to tag in Zach Wentz, which allows him to hit the double missile dropkick. Wentz with the catch takedown into the German suplex, and then he tags in Miguel for the assisted dropkicks, followed by Miguel hitting a big spinebuster on Charlie Dempsey. That dope Rascals dropkick attack, and then a triple dive from the Rascals, and then Kushida takes out the No Pennies drop gang. Tavion lifts Kushida into the air, where Kushida then gets the hoverboard locked on, but as Charlie Dempsey pulls him off, he tries to hit the hoverboard lock on Kushida, but then Kushida is able to recover back. Trey Miguel locks in an armbar on Tavion, and then Wentz with the triangle hold, but then all of the no quarter catch crew hit triple power bombs on their opponents. Kushida eats an uppercut from Charlie Dempsey, he recovers with a jumping enziguri, and then a triple kick combo with the Rascals. Trey Miguel looks to drop Dempsey on his head, but Jonathan Gresham appears, and then Kushida goes running after him. Wentz and Miguel hit the atomic pedigree, but the crew break up a pinfall. The remaining men get overpowered by the numbers game as Heights hits the belly to belly, Bourne with a backbreaker, and then a butterfly suplex from Charlie Dempsey secures the win for the no quarter catch crew.
Good morning, Glenn.
We're now on TNA pay-per-view for some more trios action as the no quarter catch crew take on the Rascals, this time with Wesley. I fuck with the Buzz Lightyear gear for the Rascals. I had completely forgotten that Wesley was in TNA until they said the name Desmond Xavier. Trey Miguel and Miles Bourne kick this shit off. Trey immediately with the Daniel Bryan comeback as he then hits the roll through dropkick as he tags Charlie Dempsey. After some hesitation, Wesley then gets tagged in. West tags in Wentz and then hits the Bronco Buster into the corner. Wentz gets caught off a leg drop and planted with a German suplex. Wentz recovers with a Hurricane Rana, but then Tavion catches him into a press drop into the gut wrench suplex. Dempsey starts setting some nastiness on Wentz for an elongated amount of time before Dempsey cheap shots the Rascals, but this allows Miguel to get the tag. He sends the crew a receipt and then moonsaults into a dropkick onto Dempsey. Miguel gets fed to Dempsey off the top for an exploder suplex and then a backbreaker for the 2. Tavion hits a couple of big ass JBL clotheslines on Miguel, which were pretty good looking as he tags in Miles Bourne for the assisted gutbuster. Miles Bourne gets kicked in the face, rolls out of the corner, but then the power slam into the corner misses into the ropes instead. Tavion and Trey field a match out to catch a breather. Trey then does a dope kip up evasion, and then Heights falls into the enziguri as Trey tags in West for the comeback. The Broke Boy team starts a 3-on-1 attack on Wesley, and then after doing some Spider-Man evasions, tags in Trey Miguel. Zach Wentz with the crossbody over the top on the Miles Bourne, and then Dempsey drops Miguel with the butterfly suplex. West breaks up a pinfall with a frog splash. Miles stops the dive from Wesley. Zach then uses West to propel onto the crew. They catch him, and then West dives onto all 4 men. Dempsey locks in the Cravate neckbreaker on Trey Miguel, as Tavion then locks Wentz into a sleeper hold. West with the super kick causes a chain reaction, causing all of the submissions to be broken. Zach with the cheeky Nandos on Tavion, West with the feint kick followed up by Soup Kitchen onto Tavion Heights. Trey then dives on the Miles Bourne, as MSK hits Hot Fire Flame to win the trios match. Back on NXT TV, and we're still on the trios hype train as the Rascals take on NXT Tag Team Champions Fraxium and Javon Evans. Axiom and Trey Miguel are going to start this matchup with some quick back and forths with the chains, and then Trey gets drop kicked in the sequence. Big double triple team last chancery drop kick from the Rascals onto Nathan Frazier. Wes and Javon have some dope exchanges during this match, Bronco Buster from Zachary Wentz. Nathan Frazier starts clearing house, but then Trey takes him down, and then both Axiom and Trey take each other down with drop kicks. The young OG goes flying over Zach, and then Zach takes his chance and moonsaults down, laying out the field. Javon Evans catches Zach off of a crossbody, which gives Wentz a front slam with a tag in the Nathan Frazier, who follows up with a shooting star press for the 2 count. Triple super kick kills Zach Wentz. Frazier gets caught off with a springboard with a knee from Wentz for the double down. Trey and West start double teaming Axiom, followed by Miguel's scorpion kick into the lightning spiral, catches Frazier off guard with a drop kick. The Rascals hit no signature drop kick, but Frazier gets a near fall. Javon gets tagged in and starts showing him the business as Miguel misses a moonsault, and then Javon hits the Mawa cutter on Miguel. Javon drop kick leads to Axiom flying off the top with a Spanish fly. Nathan Frazier then hits a Phoenix splash, but then the pin gets broken up by everyone. The match starts to break down, everyone's down, and Axiom and Miguel are beating the shit out of each other. Wes slingshots Axiom into a super kick, which gives Miguel a chance to hit the double boot stomp, and then handsprings against Axiom's partners. Hot fire flame on the pan as Wes flies over the top, and Zachary Wentz secures the victory for the Rascals. Honestly, new best match so far. I love all 6 of these guys, and the in-ring chemistry was awesome.
What the hell is even that?
TNA stands for Tacky Ninja Anteaters, and we have one more trios match to get out of the way. But we have the Rascals again, which isn't a bad thing, but I love all their matches so far. But anyway, they also take on Kushida and the team of the TNA X Division champion Speedball Mike Bailey and Trent Seven of Speedball Mountain. Trey Miguel and Kushida start off our final trios match of the video. Speedball gets tagged in and starts a drumline of kicks on Wes Lee. Trent Seven starts turning Wesley's chest in the roast beef, but then Wes gets a boot up and then tags in Zachary Wentz for the assisted Bronco Buster. And then Trey Miguel holds off the team as Wentz continues to teabag Trent Seven in the corner. Wesley and Kushida start chopping it up, and then Kushida hits a handspring into a dropkick. Kushida attempts the hoverboard lock as Wes then gets saved from Zachary Wentz, who then goes sailing with a corkscrew crossbody. Speedball hits a super kick and then hits the moonsault on Wentz. Miguel then dives on top of Speedball, Wesley with the cardiac kick, but Kushida kicks out. Wesley grabs Trent Seven on the top, but then Trent is able to turn it into a top rope power slam, which is kicked out at 2 by Wesley. 7-star lariat from Trent Seven, and then Mike Bailey attempts Ultimate Weapon. Miguel then knees him right in the face. Wes gets the corner to Trey Miguel, and then they get the slingshot super kick combo with Zach delivering the stomp, and then Trey sailing over the top on the Speedball on Kushida. Wes and Zach hit the hot fire flame on Trent Seven, and it's over. Finally, we can move on to some one-on-one action.
I dress up as superheroes.
NXT special event as we enter night 2 of the Great American Bash, and Joe
Hendry.
fucking stop! Joe Hendry takes on Joe Coffey. A lot of Joes here.
Joe Mama!
Joe Hendry does his signature pose and then does a stage dive onto the Gallus boys at ringside. Joe Coffey goes to attack, but then Hendry catches him with an uppercut as the bell rings. Coffey with a big running headbutt, followed up by a sidewalk backbreaker, and then a Vader bomb elbow for the 2 count. Coffey with a shot out of the corner and goes for a crossbody, but Hendry must have thought he was Samoa Joe the way he countered that. Joe Hendry then hoists up Joe Coffey for a big standing suplex. Hendry lines Coffey to the floor as Gallus hold Hendry back from the commercial break. Gallus boys try to sneak attack Hendry on the outside, but he then grabs a chair and then tosses it to Wolfgang as he jumps onto the announcer's table and then gets Gallus thrown out of the match. Joe Hendry schoolboys Coffey for a 2, but then he starts getting his shit in, as he then sends Coffey away with the sack of shit. The crowd chant "We Believe" as Joe hoists up Coffey and drops him with the standing ovation for the win. Joe Hendry definitely looked like a main event star here in this first one-on-one match in NXT. Joe Hendry with the interview as Sarah Schreiber asked if he enjoys his time in NXT, and Hendry says he might stay a little bit longer.
It's about to go down.
We're still here on night 2, and we have some tag team action as MSK with Trey Miguel in their corner take on the champions Fraxium for the NXT Tag Team Championships. Axiom and Wes Lee will start off our action for tonight, but remember we're focusing on NXT versus TNA. Wes Lee drops Frazier with a cartwheel evasion into an elbow as he then tags in Zachary Wentz for the Mega Teabag, and then Wes tags himself in as Zach then continues to bounce his sack. Axiom tosses Wes to the floor and then Nathan Frazier clears him out, and then Axiom follows up with a moonsault. Slingshot super kick stopped by Axiom, who stomps on Wes Lee and then tags in Frazier, and then Axiom hits the Spanish Fly on Wentz, and then Frazier follows up with a Phoenix Splash, and then Wentz gets saved by Wes. Wes Lee is caught in a full Nelson, but then Axiom accidentally super kicks his partner. This allows Zachary Wentz to hit the UFO cutter, but a goddamn 2.5 count. Hot fire flame down onto Frazier, but Axiom makes a save with the sliding dropkick. Frazier super kicks Wes Lee on the apron where he then drops Wes with the superplex, and then super kick brainbuster combo on Wes. Wes Lee kicks out at 2 again. Frazier wastes no time getting Lee to his feet, and Axiom hits the golden ratio to retain the NXT Tag Team Championships. New best match so far. Short, but goddamn it was entertaining. After the match, Wes Lee is helped to his feet by the Rascals, and then Wes then does the unthinkable. Wes Lee, you son of a bitch. Wes Lee yells at Zach that he left him alone and then punches him in the face, and then goddamn the storytelling in this segment and the selling from every wrestler with the match behind it made this so much even more entertaining. Wes seals the deal by giving Zach a Meteor Roa into the stairs to complete this heel turn. Joe Hendry versus Wolfgang in the Impact Zone. Let's get it. Joe Hendry like a house on fire in the beginning as he wants to get revenge for Wolfgang trashing his NXT concert. Hero and Wolf start exchanging titty chops on the outside, and he's about to eat an elbow drop, but Joe Hendry is just built different. Wolfgang and Hendry take this one probably the slowest out of all the matches so far. Joe Hendry recovers his Scottish brethren with the Hendry knee. Wolfgang then jumps off the second rope, and Joe Hendry again proves that he is built different. Wolfgang tests that theory by body slamming Hendry onto the floor. Hendry is able to beat the count, but then Wolfgang starts mudding a stomp hole in his ass. Wolfgang gets a suplex counter with an impressive suplex from Joe Hendry. Hendry gets the caught on the elbow, but then he has to plan himself to deliver the kip up sack of shit. Joe tunes up the band, but as he attempts the ovation, Wolfgang drops him with Wasteland, and then a Vader bomb to the spine, but Hendry kicks out at 2. Wolfgang goes for the howling, but no one's home, and then Hendry lays him out with an axe bomber. Hendry then gives the standing ovation and wins another match for TNA.
3 big balls. Look like we playing tennis.
Same night on TNA, we start to get some qualifiers for the upcoming Ultimate X match at TNA Emergence. The Rascals Zachary Wentz, Casey Navarro, and NXT's Dante Chen. The bell rings and we're off to the races as everyone starts exchanging hip tosses and pinfalls. Dante throws a clothesline, but Casey shows some tranquillo, which gives Wentz a shoulder bump, and then Navarro then dropkicks Chen and corkscrew sentons onto Wentz. Dante Chen gets spiked with a tornado DDT for a 2 from Navarro. Casey fights out of a power slam, and then Wentz catches Chen with an uppercut. Dante pulls both opponents in for a collision and then starts delivering double splashes, and then nails Wentz with a bicycle kick, followed by a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker for a 2. Zachary gets caught with an enziguri in the corner, and then it's almost like a blockbuster DDT combo from all 3 men. Wentz with the takedown into the German on the Casey, rebounding with a handspring knee strike on the Chen, and then he nails the UFO cutter on Casey Navarro for the TNA win, and qualifying for the Ultimate X match. Next week, next match, another triple threat Ultimate X qualifier with the TNA Tag Team Champion Chris Bay taking on John Schuyler, who calls his other opponent a ham sandwich. And that ham sandwich is Riley Osborne from JCU in NXT. Before the match starts, Frankie Kazarian comes down the ringside for commentary, and Tom Hannafin is not very happy. Chris Bay immediately dives on the Schuyler, and Schuyler gets double clotheslined over the top. Bay takes advantage and tries to roll him up, but it's only a 1 count. Riley somersaults all over the ring and Hurricane Rana's Chris Bay away. John Schuyler, like a vulture, comes to pick up the pieces. Schuyler has Riley locked in the Boston Crab as he pushes Schuyler into a Bay enziguri into a slingshot DDT. Bay gets sent to the floor and Riley Osborne with an impressive tope con hilo, clearing out the competition. Riley Osborne drops Schuyler in the ring with a Falcon Arrow for a 2 count.
Learn a thing or two. You call yourself a commentator, you don't even oil up.
Chris pushes Riley into a slingshot spear from Schuyler, where then Chris Bay intercepts the spear into a cutter and then nails the art of finesse. Schuyler looks to steal the victory as he tosses Bay into the ring post, but both men get pinned and kick out at 2. Riley with the single leg dropkick, and then he climbs up to the top and hits the shooting star press, and then NXT has now qualified for the Ultimate X for the first time. We're back in NXT, and right now we're going to determine who is going to challenge Ethan Page for his NXT Championship, as Wes Lee, Pete Dunne, and
Joe Hendry
compete in a triple threat match. During Joe's entrance, Pete and Wes clock him in the head and then start beating at each other, and then the bell rings. Joe catches Wes off a crossbody attempt and then press slams him down, and then knees Pete right in the nose, and then drops him with a suplex. Wes with the Chi-Town combo, but then Pete gloms him with a big shot. Pete and Joe start turning each other's chests in the raw meat, and then Wes gets a chop of his own. Wes rolls down off of a fireman's carry, and then Hendry slingshots Wes into Pete's bangers and mash. Wes lands on his feet off a back suplex and hits the wheel kick on Hendry. Hendry then recovers and hits a stage dive onto his opponents. Joe Hendry with the double clothesline and a sack of shit sent into Pete Dunne's house, and then signed, sealed, and delivered to Wes Lee's house. Oh shit, now Hendry hits the double sack of shit on Wes and Pete with the kip up, I believe. Joe Hendry looks for a double chokeslam, but Pete fights him off, and then Wes gets taken down with a kick. Pete knees Hendry out of the chokeslam, but Wes out of nowhere with a moonsault on both men. Pete starts turning Wes and Joe's arms into a wishbone. He then X-plexes Wes Lee onto Joe Hendry. Wes lands on his feet from a German, dives onto Joe Hendry, and then turns Pete Dunne around for a DDT, but it's just a near fall. Joe and Pete fight on the top, and he hits a super sack of shit. and he just kind of lands on Wesley, but Wes no-sells and then hits the frog splash on Hendry for the 2 count. Joe Hendry grabs Pete and hits the standing ovation, but Ethan Page pulls out the referee before 3. Hendry then spikes Wesley on his head and then chokeslams Wes onto the announce table. Joe ducks the roundhouse kick and hits a second standing ovation, but Ethan is blocking the referee from getting to the ring. Pete Dunne takes advantage with the bitter end, but then Trick Williams runs into the ring and hits Pete Dunne with a trick shot and pulls the referee back up, where the 3 count is then made, and then Joe Hendry has earned a shot at the NXT Championship.
If I were a wealthy man.
Back in the Impact Zone, we get some more one-on-one action as Charlie Dempsey returns to take on the Octopus, Jonathan Gresham. The Octopus and Baby Regal show some respect by performing the Code of Honor. This match is definitely going to be a technical match, as the commentators won't stop saying technical. These guys are basically playing Operation with how much they are dissecting each other with these holds. Dempsey walks in like a bridge back cravate while in a leg lock. This man is literally his father with the technical skill I've seen from him so far. Gresham catches an uppercut from Dempsey, and then Gresham bashes him with a shoulder tackle. Charlie and Gresham stay interlocked and keep giving each other monkey flips, and they almost pin each other, but both bridge up onto their heads, still intertwined. I know it sounds like I'm not saying much because of this, but it's a lot of technical wrestling, but please watch this match. These guys' grappling skills are unmatched. Gresham fights Dempsey for about 30 seconds to get his shoulders down, and then he is able to score a victory on Dempsey. And this match was super old grappling, but really entertaining shit here. Dempsey then takes a cheap shot at Gresham for being a sore loser, and then Gresham elbows Dempsey in the face to end the brawl.
Oh my god.
Back in NXT, and we get some women's action as we have the NXT Women's North American Champion, Kaylani Jordan, waiting for her opponent, as Wendy Chu has been given the chance to pick Kaylani's poison. We see in the tape that Wendy points over, and then we see that motherfucking Rosemary has arrived to NXT. Rosemary was always one of my favorite TNA knockouts, and Kaylani Jordan is fun to watch, so hopefully this one should be pretty decent. Rosemary immediately tries to choke out Jordan in the corner to start us off. Kaylani hits a slide-through hip toss into a dropkick. Kaylani then rolls Rosemary out and then crossbodies her for a 2. Rosemary catches Jordan in the corner with an elbow and then hits an exploder suplex, but Kaylani kicks out at 2. Kaylani and Rosemary, which sounds like a nice-ass strain of weed, start exchanging forearms, and then Kaylani hits the Savate kick. Kaylani with the clothesline and then a cartwheel into an elbow strike. Kaylani attempts the O-zone, but then counters into an STO, and then a dropkick, but then Rosemary springs back to life in Jordan's face. Kaylani tries the handstand attack, but Rosemary spears her against the ropes, but sadly it's only 2. Kaylani shoots Rosemary down with the kick, and then hits the one-of-a-kind moonsault and scores the win for NXT. Damn, they're finally back winning.
That shit look like the battle pass.
We here on TNA Emergent, and it's time for some Ultimate X. X Division Championship on the line instead of the normal Ultimate X. We have Zachary Wentz, Jason Hotch, Chase Hughes, Riley Osborne, Laredo Kid, Hammerstone, and TNA X Division Champion Speedball Mike Bailey. Jason Hotch immediately tries to climb but gets kicked off the turnbuckle. Laredo slaps Hammerstone, and then Riley and Zach triple super kick him and send him away with their Hurricane Rana. Riley goes sailing out of the ring, and I think he was supposed to hit Speedball. Everyone then just starts doing their dives onto their respective opponents. Double suplex sunset flip bomb from everyone, which I thought was kinda cool. Riley tries to climb up to grab the belt, but Zachary Wentz then appears and hits a cutter off the top rope. Wentz and Bailey start climbing up the truss of Ultimate X, and then West boots him off, which causes Bailey to moonsault into the pile of people. Laredo, Riley, and Hotch start climbing up the Ultimate X as well, but then Hammerstone appears like Cable in Deadpool 2 and then just wipes out everyone with ease on the ropes of Ultimate X. Hammerstone then comes crashing down into the pile again. Riley then just gets belly to belly onto some dudes at ringside. Laredo Kid then gets tossed onto all of the opponents by Hammerstone. Riley eventually takes a climb at Ultimate X, and then that's when Laredo Kid swings his leg, and he hits a shooting star press off of Ultimate X. Mike Bailey then hits the Ultimate Weapon onto Riley. Mike Bailey and Zach Wentz start hanging off the structure close to the belt, but Wentz is able to kick off Bailey to the floor, and then unhooks the belt and backflips to his feet off Ultimate X. Zachary Wentz has become the new X Division Champion for TNA. We now move on to our final event of the video, but not the final match of the video. Hang in there, we're almost done with this volume. We are at NXT No Mercy, and new TNA X Division Champion Zachary Wentz gets a shot of revenge against his brother Wes Lee for the attack that we've already covered. The bell rings, and we get some brotherly hate right out the gate. Wes with the elbow, Zach dodges the handspring, Wes tosses him off the top, and then Zach waves to Wentz, and then they both try to one-up each other in a dope exchange. Wentz with the boot in the corner, and then a big corkscrew crossbody for the 2 count. Wesley dodges Zack's super kick and dodges his dive and then his kick and then slams him face first into the ring post. Wes dodges a punch and then dumps Zack onto the apron, but only gets a 2 inside. Zack starts hammering some shots and then he hits the handspring knee strike right onto Wes's noggin. Zack Wentz with the catch takedown followed by the German suplex. Wentz follows up with a knee and then rolls into a penalty kick. Zack Wentz then gives Wes another penalty kick and then turns him inside out, and then to finish, a big corkscrew senton on Wes to the floor. Zack gets inside and hits the swanton, but Wesley gets the shoulder up. Zack super kicks Lee in the spine, but then Wes then tries to roll him up, and then when that fails, Wes Meteora gets caught into the Boston Crab. Wes eats a super kick and then a big enziguri on the outside. Wes gets kicked off the top, and then Wes gives Zack a top rope Hurricane Rana, and then a second rope Phoenix Splash, but Zack surprisingly gets the kick out. Wes follows up with the guillotine cardiac kick, but again Zack kicks out at 2 to Wes's growing frustration. Wes misses a boot kick, but then Zack spins Wes into a front flip DDT, which pops Wes into a Meteoroa and then knocks him to the floor. Wes starts disassembling the announce table, and then he tosses Zack into the stairs. And he attempts a Meteora spot again, but then Zack is able to move. Wesley spin kicks Zack, and then he just falls onto the announce table and it just implodes. Wesley doesn't care, scales the top rope and hits a Meteoroa onto the floor. Zack goes shoulder first into the ring post, and Wes tosses aside the X Division Championship and picks up a chair. Trey Miguel appears and then steals the chair from Wesley. Zack recovers and gives Wes a destroyer onto the floor, and as soon as he gets back into the ring, he snags Wes with the UFO cutter and defeats Wesley for TNA and his redemption. Well, we're here. We're at the end of Volume 1 of NXT vs TNA 2024. Joe Hendry takes on Ethan Page for the NXT Championship. Kendry kips up out of the headlock and Ethan Page is pissed. Joe finally knocks Ethan off of his feet and hits the delayed vertical suplex for the 2 count. Hendry takes his face beating and then gets peppered by All Ego for a good majority of his world title match. Ethan Page has Joe Hendry locked in a guillotine choke, where Hendry then lifts him up into a suplex. Page recovers with a Yakuza kick and tosses him into the ring post, and then gives Joe his own suplex for a 2 count. Ethan and Joe fight for position on the top, and then Hendry looks for a super standing ovation. Page then counters and then hits a top rope power slam for a 2. Joe catches Ethan with an uppercut on the top, and then he sends him away with the super mega sack of shit as Ethan rolls to the outside. Hendry follows up with the stage dive onto Page. Ethan Page powers Joe Hendry up and hits Ego's Edge onto the apron. Trick then gets to the count of 9, but believing Joe Hendry, he beats the count. Ego's Edge incoming, but Joe Hendry files a copyright claim and hits the Razor's Edge on Page, but Page is still in this thing. Ethan and Joe trade blows, and Hendry gets his comeback and then hits the kip up sack of shit, followed by the pose. Hendry sets it up and drops Page with the standing ovation, but Page has his foot under the rope. Page pushes Hendry into Williams as he falls to the outside, and Page gives Hendry a receipt and then gives him a standing ovation, but the new ref only counts to 2. Page gets frustrated and grabs the NXT Championship, where Hendry gets a close 3 with the schoolboy. Hendry grabs at the title, but Ethan Page DDTs Hendry onto the belt. The ref goes to count to 3, but then Trick grabs the ref's hand and stops the victory. Ethan is pissing his shorts right now, and Trick ducks down, and Page then knocks out the other referee. Joe looks for the standing ovation, but Page low blows Hendry, and then hits the Ego's Edge for a very slow count of 3 from Trick Williams. Ethan Page has retained the NXT Championship and secured an NXT win to close off this volume of NXT vs TNA.